Oh, God. Well, hopefully you can hear. Hopefully that's the volume is now on. Ah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, sorry for the delay, but I wasn't getting sound coming out of my PC, so I had to quickly switch over to the phone. I'm getting really sick of this YouTube thing, and I don't even know if it's YouTube. I mean, maybe it isn't, but sometimes I stream perfectly on my PC, other times on my tablet. Sometimes my tablet doesn't work, and sometimes my PC doesn't work, so I have no idea what's going on there, to be honest with you. Just give me a second here to reorganize. No, actually, you didn't miss anything, Jerry, because I had no sound on my PC, so I had to reboot. It still was no sound, so I had to quickly switch over to my phone. So actually, you haven't missed anything but aggravation and me yelling and swearing, which you probably wouldn't have heard anyways. All right. Let's see if we can just... Let's get the guitar in the frame here. Okay, I think we're okay there. Yeah, we're pretty good. Yeah, that lights it up a little better, I think. Ah, there we go. Linda the lip reader. Look at you. All right. Now all we got to do is make sure that the volume settings are the same. I think my voice is coming out okay. Okay, and then I'm assuming you guys are hearing that. I think we're back in business for now anyways. Sorry for the mess up. I just don't know what it is, you know. I don't know what happens. Sometimes the PC, like I streamed the other night on the PC and everything was just fine. And then some nights I stream on the phone and everything's fine. And then other nights just doesn't seem to want to cooperate. But I don't know if it's just me. That's the whole thing. It could be just me. I don't know. But I have been doing a lot of research lately with YouTube. I've been trying to fix the mirroring problem. And somebody finally told me that I'm probably mirrored here. I'm probably looking left-handed again. Whatever. I mean, someone told me that a lot of people are having that problem. So I don't know. They send you a bunch of stuff to do, but it's just all bullshit. You know, you got that many page, like a page like this of all these help links. You click on each one and there's pages of shit you got to read through, and I'm just too old for that garbage. So just pretend I'm left-handed for now until they fix their issue, because I know it is their issue. But anyways, whatever. All right, so today we got kind of I think people might think it's a bit advanced, but well, you know, it is Thursday, and we will talk about other things, but we're going to do some triad stuff. So first of all, full disclosure here, I don't use a lot of triads. You guys know that have been here for a bit. You know that I don't really use them, and the only ones that I do use are ones that I use to replace things like certain bar chords. I'll use a triad, right? Oh, hi, Jessica. How are you? Jessica? So the triads that I do use, as you all know, are generally ones to replace bar chords. Like I'll use this here as the B to replace my B major, and I'll use this one to replace my B flat, and I'll use this one for C. I like to play a G here a lot. You know, that kind of stuff, all right? It doesn't mean, it's just me. I choose, it doesn't come up in my style of playing. Like, now, where I do tend to use some triads, other than what I mentioned, are like, for example, if I'm playing, you know, say an A major triad, then what I might do is I might mix it in with, you know, a little note run or something along those lines. But I think for me, like, you either play in triads or you don't, right? Unless you're doing like what I mentioned, where you're just using one to replace a bar chord here and there. So that'd be like playing a bar chord in a chord progression with 3 or 4 other open chords, and that's your only bar chord. So a lot of times I'll play, you know, I'll play one triad in amongst a bunch of open chords. So I'll leave it up to you to decide if it's for you. I will tell you that 2 things about triads, especially the ones we're going to look at today, that are located on the first 3 strings, and then there'll be another shape that's 2, 3, and 4, because that's how triads are organized, right? So you can play one set of triads on strings 1, 2, and 3, and then a different set on 2, 3, and 4, a different set on 3, 4, and 5, and a different set on 4, 5, and 6. So it's quite a bit. It's not like bar chords where you just learn 4 shapes and it gets you through the whole library. You got to know, it all depends on where you want to play, what voicing and what octave you want to play in of a chord. And we've talked about that before. So for example, if I'm playing a C, you know, if I'm playing a D here and a G here, and I want to play a C, and for some reason I want to use a triad, then I would use this triad here. This is a C major triad. Sorry, right here. And I would do that because it would sound closer to the G and the D, right, that I'm playing. Whereas if I was to use maybe I was playing a C and a D, and I came down here to use the G, it might sound off, like that G is higher than the C and the D. So I always remind you that you gotta kind of, well, you don't have to do anything. When it's your guitar, you could do what you want. But generally, if you want everything to sound the same, right, then you'd want to mix your chords, if that's what you're doing, in the same area. So a lot of times people only know one way to play say a G triad, okay? And that might be this one right here. So they always go to that, no matter where they are with the other chords on the fretboard, even other triads. And it creates kind of I don't know, it creates like just too much of a variance, right, in your voicing. So, all right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to assume that you're going to approach playing all triads, right? So if you're going to play one, you're going to play them all. And then the good news is, yes, there's actually quite a few shapes to learn. But the good news is you can move these shapes. Now, there are some shapes I just can't play. Like there's some shapes here, oh, I'm going to say it looks something like this, like this, okay? And maybe like that. Okay, now I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. Okay? Like to me, that's not a shape that I want to be on the fly having to go to. I can barely get my fingers there. Now once I'm there, I can move this shape up, absolutely. But it's getting there, that's the problem. It's too much of a stretch. Now, if you keep practicing it, of course, your fingers will adapt no matter how small they are. But I want you to understand, there are just certain triads for me that are just so difficult to play, I don't even bother. Because you thought bar chords were hard. Well, it is hurtful. It's silly, but I guess just like bar chords, right? All were hurtful at the beginning, but then eventually you just develop that technique, you develop the way to do it, and then you're good to go. So what I'm going to show you today is we're going to look at some major and minor shapes, and we're going to start off on the first 3 strings, okay? So the first shape I'm going to show you is this shape right here, okay? Now it's the 2 back fingers. The ring finger will be on the root. So there's a C note, okay? So that means we are playing a C triad. Now, my pinky goes in underneath, so that this is what we got, okay, on these 2 strings. So that would be C and E. Now, what's a C triad? What are the notes in a C triad? We need the first, the third, and the fifth. So the first is a C, right? We got that right here on our pinky, or I'm sorry, on our ring finger. The second note is an E, right? That's the third note, right? That's got our pinky. And then we need a G, right? C, E, G. There's our C chord. Remember the C chord? C, E, C. Open G right here. So we have, when we play a C chord, we have C, E, open G. C, C, E, open G. There's a triad. Okay? This is the full C. This is the triad. So we are missing a G on that shape, right? So let's go back to the C right here, 2 fingers. So where's the G? The G is on the first string right there. So there's our triad shape. There's our C major. Now this finger, it may not look at it's doing nothing, okay? So there's the C triad shape. Okay? Now we can move that along to D, to E, F, G. Okay? Now we can keep going to A, right? Which would be here. Or if this is a C, this would be a B. And then if we go down to here and take and play the open string, there's our, okay? There's our A. And these go up in sharps too. So we got B, right? Sorry, C, B, A, right? There's our B, there's our C, there's our D, there's our E, there's our F, there's our F sharp. I include that because that's kind of a popular note. And there's our G. So there's all of our major triads with this shape. Ring finger is the root. So we put wherever our ring finger is, that's what we're playing with this shape. Okay? Now, this is called a natural triad because the root note, in this case C, is the lowest note of the three. Okay? So in other words, it's the note closest to me. That's a natural triad. All we have to do, if we want to find out what C minor is, we were talking about C sharp minor a couple of weeks ago and how to play it, and whether someone had asked whether or not we can play it without playing a bar chord. And my answer was you can, but it's going to be a triad. And I recommended that they play it here. It's one of those triads there. All right, so in this case, we have a C major triad. Now, if we need a C minor triad, you've often heard people say, flatten the third. Well, what's the third? Okay, so the first is the C, right? Because it's a C note. So the first note in C is C. So that's the first note, and that's this one right here. The second note, we skip the D and we go to E, right? That's called the third note of the scale. So we have an E right here. And then, of course, the next note in this is the fifth note, and that's the G. C, E, G. C, E, G. Okay? So now, if we, what they call, flatten the third, so we know the first is this note, the fifth is this note, that means this pinky note, right? If we flatten it, and that means move it to the end of the guitar 1 fret, right? But I can't do that without being a pretzel dude, okay? So what we got to do is change our positioning of our fingers. So there's the C major triad. Now all we're going to do is swap out, right, this pinky for the fat finger right there, okay, on the second string. So now we have one finger in each fret on string 1, 2, and 3. It's pretty easy to remember. And that is a C minor. Now, if we swap back and take this one off and put our pinky back on that E, we have a C major triad. Take the pinky off, put the fat finger down, and we have a C minor. C sharp minor, D minor, D sharp minor, E minor, F sharp, G minor, A minor. Okay? So again, both of these shapes, you just got to learn one for major, one for minor to play this version of C and C minor along the first 3 strings. The other thing about triads, I mentioned there were 2 things that I wanted you to know. Well, the first one was about where to play them, right? But the second thing is, you know, a lot of guitarists that I talk to and that I've, you know, read about, like their writings or listened to them in podcasts or whatever, they tell me that they don't really strum they're triads, right? They don't, they pick them, right? All right. I played guitar since I was a teen. I don't know jack about names of chords. I just know what, yeah, that's, well, you know what? That's, that's cool. I mean, you're lucky. And that happens more often, right, than not, especially if you just start out playing along and just trying to figure it out. And hey, you know, you got some skill, but you got a bit of luck, and you got some intuition, and you got a good ear, and that's fantastic. And there are people that can do that. And as long as you're playing on your own, it's not a big deal. Or as long as, okay, put it this way, as long as no one's relying on you for information, right? If you can, you can follow other people, that's all that matters. But if people are asking, like sometimes I'll say, hey, you know, what are you playing there? And if the guy goes, well, I don't know. Well, you know, all right, well, I guess I'll just sit this one out. Let me know when you do know, right? So, but good for you, man. Yeah. Look, it's always good to know basic theory. That way you can communicate with others, right? But again, if you're just playing with other people, no problem, and that's great. But if they're relying on you for information, it can get a little frustrating because you don't know what to tell them, you know? So, yeah, right? So now we've got these two shapes that we can play. It takes getting used to. Like, so now we're a beginner again, right? Because now we got to get used to. So for you real beginners out there, this is not something I would probably do. I would kind of follow along and get the theory and try to figure out what I'm talking about, right? And know the difference, like where your roots are and the different shapes. There's no harm in that. But don't let this be any kind of indication as to how you're doing as a guitar player, because this is all different, especially for you that are playing, you know, G, Ds, and Cs, you know, and your open chords. This can be pretty overwhelming, so don't get too weirded out about it, all right? So anyways, we know these two shapes. And we can switch, as I mentioned, easily from major to minor. Major, minor. And that goes for anything all the way up, right? Okay. Now, the next shape, or two shapes that I'm going to show you, are again on those first three strings. You'd think they'd only have one, right? One shape, one major shape on these three strings, one major shape on there, but they don't. All of these shapes make an appearance on every string set, okay? And there are still variations. There's still string shapes that we haven't even looked at, and we won't be today, but it's pretty vast. But again, the good thing is that you only got to learn the shape, you know, the one shape of each, and you can move it up and down the neck, right? Now remember, these are all connected to bar chords, right? So you can play bar chords without knowing the triads. You can play triads without knowing, well, why is this part of a bar chord? I don't get it. I don't see it. And I didn't see it for years. Like, honestly, I didn't see this connection 6 years. And I had probably been shown it numerous times, and either they didn't explain it properly, or I just, right over my head. But this is going to be interesting for some of you. Now, I've shown this to people before on impromptu when I come on live, and I just kind of play around, then we got talking, or I answer some questions. But I don't know if I've done a formal thing on it. I might have, and if I have, if I'm repeating, I'm sorry. But this shows you how these are connected with the bar chords. So the next shape that we're going to look at, the major shape, triad, on these same first three strings. We're going to look now where the root note, remember how last time we did it, the root note was on this third string, the way it was our ring finger, the way we were, okay, now the root note will be on our first string. So we're going to play a G major chord, okay? Now there's your G, so what else do we need? Well, a G major chord is a G, a B, and a D. So that's your triad. That's your G major chord, right? So now we have, there's the G. Now right here, we have a B. And right above the G, we have the D. So we're going to fret the first two with one bar, a little mini bar like that, okay? And then we're going to come up. I mean, you could use this finger. You could. That's up to you. And some people use that finger, and I've done it too, because when you're fretting this note right here, that's your B, okay? With the big finger, you run a risk of touching this B string. Here, see, I'm muting it out. If I don't have the perfect angle, or I don't curl this enough, right? So some people will use the smaller finger, right? That's up to you. So there's your G major. And we know it's a G major because G, D, and B. Now this would be an inversion because the root note, the G, is higher. It's not the lowest note of the three. It's not the one closest to me. So this would be called an inverted triad, an inversion, all right? But it's a G major inversion. So there's our G major. Now, I call this unfolding the umbrella. So watch. We leave our finger planted here, and we go like this. And there is our G major bar chord with all the strings in play. Unfold the umbrella like this, and we are now down to the three notes, the G, the B, and the D that we talked about that makes this a triad. You hear how thin it is? Now watch when I play that bar chord. Oh, it's so much thicker because obviously we're playing all 6 strings. Oh, they actually all rang out today. Okay? See ya, Jeff. There's my G bar chord. Fold up the umbrella. And there's my G triad. Unfold. There's my G major bar chord. So you can see that the triad is actually this finger in the middle, that middle finger of the bar chord that we slide along, right? It's a mini bar, and that's it. So it's thin because it's only 3 notes. This is thick because it's 6 notes. Still only 3 notes, but 6 strings. So we play those notes, I've explained before, multiple times. We're actually playing the G. We're actually playing D. Here we're playing another G. And here we're playing a B. Right? And then underneath the bar here, we're playing another G and another D. If we get them to ring out. There they are. So what we're doing is instead of doing these 2 notes here, G and D with our fleshy bar finger, We're taking the bar off. We're sacrificing this G here, and we're going to get a nice bar there, okay? Take everything else off, and there's our G triad, okay? If we curl up and bring our ring finger to this G here, and we play 1, 2, 3, 3 fingers, 3 frets, 3 strings, strings 2, 3, and 4. We have another G triad, right? So look what we get out of this shape. We get a full bar chord. We get major triad, okay? And then we get this triad, so we release this bar, okay? And we're playing a D, a B, and a G. And we play only those 3 strings. Now you can't play this and go like that. That's not a G chord. Because now we're playing an E, we're playing an A, and we're playing another E here. And those aren't in the G chord. The G only has a G, B, and a D in it. Okay? So from this one little area, we get G major bar chord, G major triad, G major triad. Okay? Now, just like before, if we flatten the third, we got a G minor triad. Okay? So here's that major shape. If we just slide this finger, the fat finger, down, flatten it, down 1 fret. We can't really do that. Well, I guess you can. I don't know. I would just use 1 finger. So there's G minor. There's A minor. There's B minor. C minor, C sharp minor, and D minor. You see how it's all connected, right? So that's why when you watch guitar players, it's kind of like you're wondering what they're doing here. Like you don't recognize that chord. What chord is he playing? I don't understand. Well, they're playing triads. That's why. So the shapes don't look like open chords, right? So it can be very, very confusing. And sometimes they'll play this, like they might just play that. So there's the bar chord, but they might just play that. But when they do that, they're only playing these 3 strings that are being fretted. Okay, so that's the whole thing. When you play a triad, you can only play the notes you're fretting. That's it. Okay? If you play other notes with it, you've messed it up. Yeah, this is don't get me wrong, this is extremely overwhelming. So when people tell you that it's easy, it's not easy. But it's one of those things that once you learn it, it's one of the easiest things on guitar, believe it or not, once you learn it. But for most of us, what's happening here, right? What's happening here is we start out playing our open chords. Some of us play a few bar chords, but that's our style of guitar playing. And then all of a sudden we learn triads, and we have to almost forget what we've just spent months or years playing. And we have to adapt to a different shapes and the way we hold our fingers and the way we find the chords. And it can be strange. It requires kind of rebooting the system and starting all over again. The only difference is we're not starting as new beginners, right? We're starting with some sort of like base, okay? With some sort of confidence and experience. So, and I mean, look, this is stuff that you never have to play, in all honesty. Okay, so this falls under the category of strictly optional. You can play for 10 years, 20 years, and never play a triad. Yeah, right. There are, absolutely. There's those little, yeah, there's, yeah, you got a bunch of little stuff going on, which a couple of these we're going to cover here today. But yeah, that's right. You know, it's, it all depends on what you're playing and how you want to go about playing it. And again, nobody, you know, if you want to be looked at as a, well, I'm not going to say good, but a, you know, like a well-rounded or seasoned guitar player, then all I can say is, I mean, yeah, incorporate these triads and start, whatever you know how to play now, start learning the triad equivalent and start learning, take 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of your practice time, and just kind of go through a chord progression, right? So in this case, you might do something like, you might do C, A, G, so C, A, G, you know, and it takes a while, but that's what you would do, is start replacing your open chords and progressions with all triads. And again, just like the bar chords, we don't really want, it's okay to start out doing this, going from F to C to G to A, okay? All right, so that's fine. We're gonna go F, C, G, A, G, whatever. I mean, we're using the same shape, that's my point. And that's okay to start out, all right? So if you wanna start out just to get used to things and go C, D, C, E, D, C, C, D, E, F, E, D, C. I mean, it can't hurt, you know, but ideally what you'd want to do is you'd want to mix this with something in that area, right? So C, G, right? A, G, C. Like you're going to want to mix it. And it takes a bit, but you can see, you start slow and controlled, and within 5 or 10 minutes, you really will start to get it down. But this is something I just, you know, I do get people ask about it, and, you know, I just thought I would show you some of the triads that are the most, I think, easiest and most popular to play, right? The other, oh, and remember, when I showed you that umbrella trick, right, the corresponding, that's good for all chords. That's good for all the major chords like that. So I showed it to you in G, right? Now, we already know that we can do this. There's a G, and there's a G. Take that off, we got a G minor, okay? G major, G minor, G major, right? We got this, we got the G here. If we remove the bar altogether and play only those 3 strings, we have another triad shape that we're going to get to in a moment. But there's another triad shape right there, okay? So that's all off of that bar chord. Now, if we were in B, the same thing would apply. There's our B bar chord. Close up the umbrella. There's our B triad, okay? And now we have the B triad this way. with the one finger in each. B, A, G, F, G, A, B, C, D, right? There's my D bar chord. There's my D major. There's my D minor. All connected, right? For the most part, the weirdest, I know this is going to sound weird, but the hardest chords, the most difficult chords are your open chords when you think about it. Because number one, it requires you play more than 3 notes. Even though it's the same 3 notes, you got to play them different amounts of times. You're using open strings as well. And you got to learn a separate shape for every single chord. So there's 8 beginner's chords, 9 if we include this F cheater chord that we play to replace the bar chord, right? And every chord is different, you know? A, C, D, E, F, G, A. I mean, they're all different. It's silly. Whereas bar chords and triads, it's one shape, and we can play all over the place. So when you think about it, geez, isn't it much easier? But we learn, for whatever reason, we learn the opposite way. We learn to do the open chords first. And that way we tend to think that bar chords and triads are the more difficult way to do things. They're not. They're just different from what we're used to. They're actually straightforward and simple because they don't mess around. 3 notes, 3 strings. That's it. I could say 3 fingers, but there are some where you just saw we use 1 finger to bar 2 notes. So we're really only using, right? So the next one I want to show you is a shape that we all know, and that's the D shape, right? So this is one of the triads that I use, I don't know, because I like the shape, it's easy to play, and I like the voicing of it. So here's our D, right? If we move this up and only play those 3 strings, we have an E, F, G, A, and B. And these are the 3 that I like. G, okay, so G, A, B. Sorry, B. G, A, B. G, A, B. It's just the D going across those frets. And we only strum that's so important, the notes that we're fretting. That's it. Right? Okay, so now this one, where's the minor? Okay, so let's go back to our D. Even though this is an open chord, I'm going to play it like a triad. Meaning I'm only going to play the notes that I'm fretting. Now remember, we have a D note, right? That's the first note of a D chord. So we have a D note. Then we need some form of an F note. Now in this case, it's an F sharp. And then we have an A. D, F, A. Those are the 3 notes of a triad, right? In this case, F sharp. So D, F sharp, A. There's your D major. The 3rd note, right? D is the first. The F sharp is here, and we switch here. We switch our fingering around because we don't have pretzel fingers. Okay? And what do we have? Well, you should recognize this chord. This is a D minor. We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. Da 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 da. Teacher, leave those kids alone. Teacher, leave those kids alone. All in all, it's just another brick in the wall. Sorry, I just couldn't resist, but it's a D minor, right? So now we have an E minor, okay? Remember the original E would have been like this, okay? D, E. We changed the fingering around, and we have our E minor. And the same thing. There's F, there's F minor. F, F minor. There's my root of F, okay? G, G minor. So that's all we have to do is flip that D shape to a D minor shape. There's the D minor. E, F, G. There's an A minor. And the one you've all been waiting for. There's another way to play your B minor, but I wouldn't play it there. I'd play it here with the one finger bar, okay? Sorry, I might have missed that. It took me 3 years to put chords together, sound like something old and get arthritis. I go slow and tend not to set. Yeah, Jerry, that's the perfect way to do it. That's the perfect way to do it. Play within your means, and if any chords are not within your means, find a way to replace them. It's that easy, in a way, right? And again, that's why me and many other people don't like to play bar chords, because the reality is I can play one bar chord out of 4 over and over again. Like out of the other 3 are open. Maybe two, but after a while, if I've got like if I got something like this going on, you know, something like that. Three, 4, after a while, this just starts killing me and it's no fun anymore. So I tend to find replacements, right? Floyd, you got it. Yeah, that's right, it is. I think he probably plays it, where does he play it? The D. Doesn't he play it something up here? He's probably playing, what is he playing? Is he playing a G? It's a D-shaped triad, isn't it? And another thing I want to let you know, most people, not everybody, most guitarists play triads on an electric guitar. And if you notice, see, I notice little things like this. Now, I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but when I was learning and I was watching these videos and stuff, I used to wonder, why are they using an electric guitar, especially for things like power chords, scales, and triads? And I never knew. I never even really thought that it was even a question. But then I kind of figured out that, you know what? Those dirty little scoundrels, it's a lot easier to play this on an electric guitar. Hands down. So much easier to play on an electric guitar. Not only the fact that everything is closer together, right? You don't have to stretch out as much for some of these shapes. Everything's closer together, but more importantly, you don't need any pressure whatsoever. Like here, like we got to get that in there, and then we got to give it a good, you know, when you're on an electric guitar, you could just touch a string, just touch it, and you've got a beautiful sounding note. Acoustic, you got to work it a little bit, right? So remember, a lot of these are so much easier. But I urge you to continue on an acoustic guitar, especially for things like bar chords, power chords, and triads, even notes, right? You see me play when I'm doodling around and stuff like that, and I'm playing like leads or riffs or solos, I'm on an acoustic guitar. And there's kind of a reason. It's because, like, when you build that up on an acoustic and then go to an electric guitar, it's so much easier. Like, it's just like butter, right? In fact, I was playing around with my electric. I put some funky strings on it, and they're like, the lowest string is like a 9, which is pretty low. Considering your acoustic guitar, your lowest string is probably a point 13, 14, maybe a 15, depending on what gauge strings you're using. Usually 13 or 12, somewhere around there. So to go to a 9 is very thin. And what I have found is that yes, it's easier to play on your fingers and all that kind of stuff. But I find it's hard to get them in the right, to play them in tune. Does that sound right? I find that the strings are so light and so wispy, that's wispy, like they just move around so easy that it's harder. I was starting playing and I thought, geez, this sounds like my guitar's not in tune. So I checked all the tuning and it's all in tune. I'm like, this just sounds weird. But I think it's because, or I know it's because, the strings are so light that they're more volatile and you have to be more precise in where you fret that note or else it sounds off. So anyways, just keep that in mind. So remember, all of these things that I'm showing you now, for the most part, are much better on an electric guitar, okay? But again, learn them here, and then they'll be easier when you switch over to electric. Okay, so you have a bad guitar, someone said. I have a Yamaha 510, and the gap from the strings. Yeah, okay, so a couple of things going on there. Obviously, you know you need to take that in to someone and have that, what they call set up, right? Jeff's not here. He's the guy that would give us the expert advice on this. I know a bit from having had this problem on some of my guitars. In fact, this guitar here is due. I've got to take this in. I keep putting it off because I can't find the time. I called the guy, then he was away for a week, and I just haven't got back. But I'm having the same issue. It's not as bad as probably what you're going through, but I need a setup. My strings are a little higher in the here, and I find I'm getting certain little, not buzzes, but like vibration noises, especially here, like down. Of course, it doesn't happen when I want it to happen, but when I'm playing here, I'm getting these kind of like weird, sometimes little vibrating noises. So I know I got to get it fixed. But to answer your question, if you're lucky, when you take it in, you'll find that it's just a readjustment of, they'll lower the action in the back and it'll just be fine. Worst case scenario, okay, and they always tweak the truss rod as well, because you're part of the reason that has happened. If you look at your guitar, you can probably see that ever so slightly even, that's all it takes, is your fretboard has gotten a bit of a bow in it. I'm being exaggerated, just so that you can see what I'm... So instead of it being straight, like this, like straight across, okay, you've got like a bow, like a bow and arrow, right? Not as exaggerated, but if you can obviously see that it's got a bow in it, it's unplayable, right? Don't even bother, it's not worth it. Have it fixed. 9 times out of 10, they can adjust the truss rod, set the action back, and when you pick the guitar up, it'll be like a brand new guitar. Now, I don't know the exact model you're talking about, but all Yamahas are, even their low-end stuff is really good. Like, they're good guitars. So if you're unlucky, then something has happened and maybe your neck has gotten warped, or, you know, and then it's a bigger repair. I know my guy, he usually does everything while I wait, to be honest, like, you know, but if there's anything really bad, what they like to do is keep the guitar and they'll put it in a hot box for a few days, like a humidor, a giant humidor. And that will bring, if it's a quality guitar, because that means the wood is good, and it'll breathe in all of the water, and then they'll work on it from there, right? Because when your neck bows like that, it's usually because your guitar has dried out to the point where it shrinks, okay? And then you've got all those strings pulling at it. So you got the strings here and at the other end, and they're pulling at it, and your guitar starts to go like that because it's losing moisture. And then it's a bigger repair job. But normally, it's just your action on the back here of the strings up here, usually that can be fixed while you wait, or overnight anyways. You pick it up the next day. And I don't think it's expensive. Here, I think a basic setup here is about $50 or $60. If you have your strings changed, it might cost a little more, plus the cost of the strings. But if you're just going for the setup, which I would recommend, if you don't change your own strings, I would recommend going with take your strings and say, here, change these as well, and then it's done, okay? And then learn how to change your own strings so you don't have to worry about it. You're not going to do any damage. You're not going to change anything. Like, you're not going to change the setup just by taking your strings off and changing them. But that's an easy thing that you can do on your own. Save yourself the cost of a strings aside. They're going to charge you at least $25 or $40 to do it. So you're going to be looking at $60, $70 every time you change your strings. I change my strings every 3 to 4 weeks. So, I mean, you know, it can add up, right? All right. Let's get back to one more shape that I want to show you. And then there's some questions. If anybody has any questions, or we can get off into something else for a little bit. So this one here is one of my personal favorites. And it sets up a really beautiful chord progression that I really like, okay? Now this one here is the E major. Now remember I showed it to you kinda, right? But, so this is an E major chord, okay? There's your E major chord. There's your A. Right? All right. We're going to slide this up. Okay, now as we slide up, we are going to do this. I love that chord progression. E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, F sharp minor. Beautiful. It's the opening, and it's, I think, a main riff in the song too, of a song called Melissa by the Allman Brothers. And also, I'm not 100% sure, because I've never really stopped to take a look at it, but there's a song from the 70s it was a good story behind the song. Thunderclap Newman. Sorry, I got the yawns. Thunderclap Newman. And it was, starts out, it sounds similar. Maybe it just goes, I don't know if it goes up here. Call out the inspiration. you know the one I'm talking about. All right? And I think that's at least the first two. I think E to F sharp for sure. They might go to a D. I don't know. It's hard to say. It could be the same. But anyways, it's a beautiful little run. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I started with an E major, but then I split my fingers. So these two, and I'm playing them with the back fingers, by the way. That's what allows me to split. So these two fingers, so here's how you normally play your E major. Okay? So by replacing these, because if you do this, it's really hard. You can do it, but there's the split. And it's not really cool, right? But you could probably, and for those of you with long fingers, could probably get away with it, but you could probably train yourself to. I don't bother. I just switch these two fingers on the E. So my E major is the same. Now when I slide up these two like this, so here's the E minor, right? There's your E major, there's your E minor. So we're just going up here too. And what happens when we do that? Then that E minor becomes what? Well, it comes an F, F sharp minor, right? But we only slide the first finger up one. Then we create that gap. See that gap there? That's your triad shape. For triads played on strings 3, 4, and 5. So there is your minor triad shape. There's E major, and then it turns into a F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A sharp minor or B flat minor, all the way up, okay? But to play it like that, you got to have that split. So you got to have the second. Right? So if we are playing, so there's your F sharp minor, let's say, right? All right, so if we sharpen, now remember when we went from the major triad to the minor triad, right? We had to flatten the third note. That means whatever that third note was, okay? In this case, it was the pinky. Or I'm sorry, on the C triad, it was this note, it was the pinky, yes. We had to flatten it, but we can't physically do that. So we replace this pinky with the fat finger, and we got those 3 in 3, right? And that's the minor version. Well, this time around, we're starting in a minor shape. F sharp minor, G sharp minor. So in order to make this a G minor, okay, not a G sharp minor, we don't flatten, we sharpen the third. Means we bring it up the neck 1 fret. So now we got to find our third, and it's right here, okay? Because G sharp is here, that's the first. A sharp here would be a B here is the second, and we want to bring that sharp there's our G chord, G triad, right? If we move that back, there's our G triad, G major, or G minor, right? Just like when we played F sharp, G minor. If we move this sharp, we got this here, which is what? It's an E shape. There's our E, right? F, G, So there's another triad shape, both major and minor. There's the minor shape, just moving that finger back. There's the major. Okay? And the back you should be familiar with. Not only is it an E major shape that we're playing, but it's also the back of the bar chord. So there's your G bar chord. Take away the bar chord, there's a G triad. G major. Slide that finger there, or replace that finger with that one. There's a G minor. Okay? So remember, it all is connected. So what you can do is you can play E. Only these three, though. That's it. We can't play any other strings. F sharp, G. There's your A, G, A, G, A, G, C. All right? So there are some triad shapes that you can chew on. There's no sense, we'll be here all day if we go through all of them, but a little bit at a time, right? Yeah, dude. See you later. So yeah, that's the relevance there. Okay, so if you were to continue on here and redigest what we talked about, you'll have the basics of playing you'll have all kinds of ways to play any chord you want on those first 4 strings. And then if you add in that little E major thing, just remember, when you're playing in triad shapes, you cannot play any open chords, any open strings, sorry. You can't do it, right? Grave rod, truss rod, yes, probably. You'll be looking at let me see if that's, you're the one with the Yamaha, correct? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was mentioning before, is that that's not a big deal for someone who knows what they're doing. In fact, it's not a big deal for anybody. You just got to know what you're doing. You got to know which way to turn it. You got to know how to get at it. But that's what that little cover's for, as you probably know. Some of them are here. Some of them, they might be in the back here that just has an open bolt. And then there's a bolt in under here where your neck connects to the body of the guitar. There's something that you can turn, and they get in there with an Allen wrench thing, okay? But that's part of getting a setup. So what they'll do is they'll take your strings off. They will, if there's no structural issues, and it's just a matter, because it's real wood. They're all going to change over time. It's not like you're not going through anything unique. There's nothing wrong with your guitar per se. It's pretty natural, actually, especially for good guitars. So that's the whole deal. They'll turn that, and that will, depending on which way you turn it, that will straighten the arc out, okay? And then they'll restring it, and as they do, they will reset this back. Sometimes they'll take it out and file it down. Sometimes they'll just put a new one in. This little bridge thing here, right? and they'll just put a shorter one in so that it sits lower. I think that's what they do, yeah. So that it sits not as high, and then the strings will come out lower. Yeah, you'll have a brand, like, it'll feel like a brand new guitar. And the way I know when, well, I can tell by looking, and you can tell by the way it plays. But when I go to a guitar store and I pick up one that's a quality guitar that's nice and set up properly, then you can tell. Then you play it and go, damn, I got to get my guitar fixed. So, but yeah, that's not a big deal. And in fact, what I did is I have an old acoustic. It's probably worth a couple $100 tops, and it's Simon and Patrick. It's actually a pretty good brand. The wood is good, and it's under the Godin guitar umbrella. There's Simon Patrick, Art and Lutherie, Siegel. There's a few of them, and they're good quality, low-priced guitars, like $500-600 kind of thing, and up, of course. But you can get a good one for $500 or $600. And I got an old one lying around that's kind of been beat up, and I bought it at a secondhand thing for probably $60, $50, and I used that to practice this. Like, I used that, like, I took the strings off of it, I got into the bolt, and I started screwing around with the fretboard, and, it's pretty good, right? It worked out pretty well, and it's a good way to learn. And then once you do it and the things don't snap, like, you kind of learn, right? And hey, I can do this. It's not that hard. But, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it if you got a $4,000 guitar and everything. I think it should be in the hands of a professional. But, it's not that hard. Okay, but that sounds like all you need. It's a little truss rod adjustment. So get the whole fretboard straight, and then maybe adjust the back end so that lowers the action here. Because, I mean, it's not important if you're just going to play open chords like this. No problem. But when you start playing bar chords, and if you start getting into like a B, that area, that's where I find it starts to get effective, right? So you start playing your B bar chord here, and you notice that you gotta press down a lot to get the notes to ring out properly. Then it's no good. And by the time you get up here, it's almost unplayable. It's almost unplayable, right? You have to be absolutely perfect, like spot on perfect, to be able to make it sound good. And that's how I can tell. Like, I'm not happy. That's a D. And here's that. I just had that little ringing out sound I was telling you about that drives me nuts. Right? Right? That's getting a little difficult to play on my guitar, and it never used to be. So that's when I know that it's time to take it in for an oil change, right? So, see you, Dermot. Hey, you know what it's like being old, Randy? Up at 4, sleep by 8. Sweden. Astrid Olofsson. Well, I can play you an Eagles song if you really want to, but then I would have to end, which I think we're pretty much been here bending your ear long enough, so that I'll edit it out before I post it, and then I won't get copyrighted. Because if I play an Eagles song, sure as God made little apples, I will get a copyright. Oh, Jeff's here. Yeah, so he could tell you. This is the guy to ask. String and pickups. Is that question for me? I'm not sure if that's for me, but your pickup in an acoustic guitar, and depending on the pickup you're using, Like my pickup is here, I think, in the back with the Taylors, is right here. I may have another one, but I think I have another one too. On an electric guitar, then yeah, you've got those pickups, 2 or 3 of them, anywhere in this real estate here. And I don't think that matters as much, to be honest with you, whether or not there's a slight difference in the gap between the pickups. But that would be something that Jeff would on electrics, yeah. But I don't think that's a big deal. Again, Jeff would know better. I mean, I don't think it's, those pickups are pretty sensitive. They're pretty good. I don't think it matters if the string is like ultra close to them or it's a little further up. But, oh, you lower the pickup also. Oh, okay, I didn't realize that. Okay, that's why you learned something today. So on my, like I got a Seymour Duncan, the square silver plate on my electric guitar. So if I had that lowered, then they would lower that accordingly. So the same, to keep it to the same distance, I guess is what you're saying. So I didn't realize the importance of that. So I thought they would just, you know, pick up the noise no matter, or the vibration. I've never gotten in. I have an old bass here that I was thinking of taking apart to see how that's set up in there. But you know, there was supposed to be a guitar course. I saw it on my local Facebook page. Someone was doing one, but I could have sworn it said March, and I put that I'm interested, and then I never heard anything back. So I don't know what happened to that, but it was something I wanted to do. It was going through the procedure of doing your own setups and stuff like that. I've often been curious about it. So okay. If Astrid is still here and you want to hear an Eagles song, I'll play one for you. And if you're not, that's okay. Because I can edit it out at the end. That's easy. I just can't take things out of the middle. So I'll get a copyright notice, and then it tells me I can go in and mute out or cut out the parts that are infringement. So if I play it at the end, then I suppose I could go and cut it out before it does any damage. But all right, so I don't want to boggle your mind with things. And these triad things, look, people, I'm going to tell you, I find them very complicated. The ones that, the first 3, I got them down pretty good. They're pretty easy to me, and I can play them. I just don't. But after that, I got to tell you, your head is going around, because for every shape, the root note changes, and you need to know where the root note is to know where to slide, right? Just like the bar chord. Like if you're playing a bar chord, you know that's an A because you're on the root of A right here. So if you want to go somewhere, if you want to go to D, you just go to the D on that string, and that's how you kind of, there's your G and your F and your A and all that. We all know that, right? Well, it's the same with the triads, but the one thing about there is it's always, on the barcode, it's always this string. And then if you're playing the A shape, it's always this string. So that's all you got to worry about. Triads, it depends on the shape. So sometimes and it depends on the inversion. Are you playing a natural triad? Are you playing a first inversion? Are you playing a second inversion? Each one has a root on the different finger or different string, finger of the shape, but different string. And it can be very, very complicated. So, look, I just thought I would throw it out there. I guess the video will be up there. I hope it's decent enough quality that you can at least watch it back. For those of you that want to, just add for reference. But please don't get all, bummed out of shape. When I show you bar chords, I always tell you there's 2 bar chords you should learn. If you're just going to be an open chord player, and that's fine, you're going to play up here, no problem. But you should know 2 bar chords, and that's B minor and F sharp minor. And not only, the main reason is so that when you start playing with a capo, if you can play that B minor chord, right like that, and then you take that plus a capo, you can play any other minor bar chord, right? Just by knowing your B minor shape. It just depends on where you put the capo. So if I needed to play a B minor, a C minor, or a C sharp minor, okay, then I could put a capo on 2. If I play my B minor with a capo on 2, I'm playing a C sharp minor bar chord. Okay, so, and the same with this minor up here, F sharp minor. If I have a capo on 2, then we all know now I'm playing a G sharp minor. So that allows me to play up the neck with my capo and play chords that I couldn't play before. Or, you know, with a capo mixing with my open chords. So that's really it. Triads, I tell you the opposite. People ask me, I go, look, I wouldn't learn them until the end, until you're really, really good. And then I would add them into my library bit by bit. And I would start out with, just like bar chords. I didn't learn them all. I just learned 2. And that got me going. And that's what I would do with triads. I would learn ones that you need to play today, whatever they are. For me, it was this one. That was the biggie. Okay? So this, all of a sudden, now I didn't have to play this dreaded B major bar chord here, and I didn't have to slide down and play a B bar chord here, and then go back up and play my open E, A. I could do this. And that helped me so much, right? Like that helped me so much. So that's how I would learn triads. Pick and choose what can help you right away. And the rest, hold on for a bit. You know, when I learned my B minor, that was the only bar chord I played for the longest time in my regular playing every day. And then it was F sharp minor. But once you know how to play and confidently go to either one of these bar chords, well, the rest just seem to fall into place when you're ready. Okay? Now, on the other hand, if you're coming out of your open chords and you've known all them and you know right away, hey, I want to get onto triads, well, that's what you would do, right? And start with the 3 set string on the bottom here, the highest end, the 1, 2, and 3. Learn the major shapes and the minor shapes on those strings. Practice them back and forth. Practice playing chord progressions that you play with your open chords. C, D, G, D, A, G, A, E, B, A, E, D. Now you don't have to be afraid of that B bar chord. You can play it in a triad by just sliding one of the shapes up or down. You're ready to go. That's what I would do. I wouldn't worry about learning all shapes on all strings right away, because I've been playing a long time, and I look at, I see some of these sheets that come online and go, oh, here's all your triads broken down for you. And I look and my brain is going like, what? Like I just, you know what I mean? It's just too overwhelming. A bit at a time. Bit at a time. All right. So look, I think we're saturated for today as far as, for some of you, this is probably just something that you watch just for the future. And hopefully some of you, it helped you kind of point you in the right direction. I think it's really interesting, the connection between the bar chords and the triads. You know, just gives you a little bit of versatility, right? You got the minors, you got the majors, you got the different way. I mean, it's cool, right? It can only help you, but don't lose sleep thinking that you have to learn this stuff, because I'm going to tell you, you do not. Okay, you do not. And those of you that have been around me for a while know that that's true. You can go almost everywhere with just your open chords and eventually a capo, and then eventually one bar chord or two, like B minor and F sharp minor. So, all right, everybody. So if there's any questions about this stuff or whatever, so Randy, are you on the gate, or are you on the gate today? Because, oh, God, what an idiot. Why do we got these idiots here? Bye, idiot. Oh, you got to wonder about the mentality of some people. I mean, like, I got nothing better to do, so I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to go through everybody's live and tell them stupid things. Like, it just blows my mind, to be honest with you. Randy, it became too overwhelming. Don't ever get a job as a bouncer or a doorman in a nightclub. All right. So nobody has any questions? No one has any questions, so that's good. But yeah, don't fret over this. Get it? Don't worry about it. It's not going to make or break you as a guitar player. But who knows? A couple of years from now, you might look back and go, "Boy, was I ever silly?" Because this stuff's really easy. But I don't know. All right, I will be, as usual, I will be poking my head online on the weekend, or towards, the weekend, probably to play some tunes. I've been enjoying doing that lately. I think Barb joined us the other night. I don't think she's here today, but I think Barb joined me the other night. We played a few tunes, and it was pretty cool. What else? Oh yeah, so look, as you probably know, I'll leave you with this. As you probably know, I'm getting a little bit fed up with the whole YouTube thing. And by the way, I'm assuming I'm left-handed, right, today? Like nobody has said anything, but I'm assuming that I'm left-handed again. And I'm just getting a little sick of this whole, I think it's a YouTube thing. I mean, I don't know. But the fact that I can't find any answers, and it's really hard to deal with them, and I guess it is, because there's probably billions and billions of users and probably millions and millions of channels, and if everyone, yeah, that's what I thought, okay. So, yeah, so if everybody has issues and they're texting or emailing, I'm sure it's very overwhelming. So, but yeah, you really don't get good help. I mean, they do respond to you, but they just send you a bunch of garbage. And you got to sit there for hours and go through it. And I'm not going to do it. It's just not worth it. So I'm sure I'll eventually come across something that will fix this situation. But in the meantime, the reason I mention that is I go over on a platform called Twitch. And I kind of just started there. I was on it years ago during COVID. And I really didn't know what I was doing or nothing, and I didn't really let it go anywhere, and then I lost interest in it. And I didn't have the equipment, I didn't know how to stream, and it was pretty shit, to be honest. But it seemed pretty cool, and so I started back up over on Twitch. I've only done one or two shows there as a kind of a test. And it's the same name. Well, I use the name Play with RAYRAY. And so I think I'm not going to move over there yet, but I'm going to start doing some streaming over to Twitch. And and see how that goes. And that might just be a nice replacement for this, because I'm pretty much fed up. And as far as I know, on Twitch, I show up with the right hand. So I don't know, but whatever. I mean, if any of you are ever on Twitch, it seems pretty cool. I mean, I don't think it's the same setup. Like you don't go there to find out, how to change the carburetor in your car or the shower head on your shower or something like that. I think it's more of, people playing and doing things, playing games, gaming online, stuff like that. So I'm not sure if it's the right real platform, but we'll see what happens. You got to always have alternatives, right? So, all right, everybody. So we'll see you probably sooner, but definitely next week. And we just had a blizzard yesterday. It's back up to about 15 again today, which is Celsius. So that's like, I don't know what that is. It's like 60 something. But yesterday, it was freezing cold, and we got 6 centimeters, so that would be about 2.5 inches of snow in an hour. It was just crazy weather, and it was freezing cold. This has just been a really weird spring. We had warm weather a couple of weeks ago, then it turned really cold again. And this is really unseasonal for us, because by now, where I live here in southern Ontario, it's usually pretty mellow around now. So, weather's crazy. I don't think we can blame Trump for that, but it's crazy, and as is what's going on in the world nowadays. I'm not one to. It's not that I don't care. It's just I just don't waste any energy fighting and bitching about things that I really can't control. I don't know anything about deep politics or what's behind wars and all that stuff, and all this political garbage. That's my American friends' problem. Let them figure it out. Yeah. Jeez. Hi, Bexy. I do request when I'm come on. This is a scheduled weekly guitar show, and I don't do requests because it trips the copyright. And I like to keep these videos up so people that miss the show can see it. But I do take requests when I come on any other time, which probably Friday night, Saturday night kind of thing. I usually jump on, play some songs. So if you're into more of that, I have some covers I'll play. I play my original songs, and we'll go from there. So, okay. Well, hey, thanks for joining. And remember, don't lose your head over these triads, okay? Give them a try, and if you have any questions, let me know next time I'm on, or comment on one of my videos, or send me an email if you have anything that's really pressing. Other than that, we'll see you next time I'm on, hopefully, all right? Take it easy, everybody. I don't know how your political system works, but I think you have an opportunity, don't you, in a couple of years or something? I don't know what those midterm things are. Is that like just a report card, or can you actually make some changes? But, it seems that you have an issue that we don't usually have here, in that you only have the 2 parties. Now, we got more than 2 parties, but we really only have 2 relevant parties. But it seems that with the 2-party system, and now more than ever, it seems like you guys are so divided. Like there's like 51% yes and 49% no, or something like that. Like it's so close that it's like 1 in every 2 people are not going to be happy with no matter what happens. And that's a recipe for disaster, though I don't remember it, being this volatile. I think even last time he was in, it wasn't as volatile, right? But you know, it's a shame, really. I mean, the guy. I mean, never mind. I mean, look, politics aside, I mean, the guy is just a scumbag. I mean, in person, like if he wasn't your president, I mean, he's a scumbag. I mean, he gropes women. You know, who else? Who knows what else he's been into? There's all kinds of weird stuff that he's paid hush money to porn stars and this stuff. It's just weird that someone could be on trial and have all these charges and guilty verdicts and impeachment proceedings and all this stuff, and now he's president again. I just can't get my head around that. Okay, we're here. We have was there one, two? Like there's really three major parties, and then there's one that's kind of just because one province is French, so they have their own kind of guy. And the way that's set up, if he gets all the votes from that province, he could be the second like the second party that's got what they call opposition status. That happened to us once. They're called the Bloc Québécois. They're out for French independence. They want to separate Quebec from Canada. But other than that, we have like the Liberals, the PCs, and the NDP. And so normally, the Liberal and the Blue, the PCs, they fight, and they're the two that are always in. Okay, or if you look back over the last, I don't know, 50, 80 years, it's always been either liberal or conservative. But because the other parties get a whack of votes, we don't have like that. You know, if there are 5 of us or 6 of us in a room, 3 of us are against each other. We don't have that. We got one guy that voted there, one guy voted here, one guy voted over here, one guy didn't vote at all, and the other guy voted. You know what I mean? And we don't seem to have, I don't know, whatever. But you know, I think that. Oh, wow, but he's been a piece of work for a long time, right? That would be crazy to me, that some guy who didn't get voted and now he's got all this power. That is just, I don't know, it's just crazy. I mean, it's one thing if people voted him in. Like if it was Trump, Musk, right? You take the two of them and you vote. And you want them in together? No problem. I understand that. But all of a sudden, you've got a guy who wasn't elected, and seems to me, from the outside looking in, pulling all the strings. I don't know. It is what it is. Hey, like I said, I don't really give a darn myself. It doesn't affect me. I stopped going south of the border quite a while ago. I think when he was in his first term, there was some issues. A friend of mine had some issues, and I just said, I'm not going over there and being treated like a dog, you know, and stuff. It's not going to happen. So I kind of lost interest, and I don't go anywhere anyways. But I definitely won't be planning anything now that I see what's going on. I don't think I'll be planning any visits anywhere anytime soon. But I think, Linda, it's probably going to get worse because. Oh, there wasn't? Okay, I didn't know if there was always division, but yeah, I think it's only going to get worse because, again, I'm not up on it, but I do try to do research from like good areas that aren't affected by, you know, partisan, what do you call it, partisanism or whatever. And it just seems like the whole tariff thing, well, someone's got to pay for those. And it's easy to say that, yeah, you're going to make money as a country, but someone has to pay for that. You know, Gillette's not going to pay. Ford's not going to pay. You know, any big company is not, they're going to pass it to you. And I guess me inadvertently, but yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't make sense. And it blows me away that it's not only him. Because if it was only him, he wouldn't be the head of the, what do you call him, the Republican Party? Right? The people would stop it. But they're obviously all in on it together, and they all think that this is the way to go. Maybe they know more than I do, and probably do, but it doesn't make sense to me that things are going to go along unchanged or get better price-wise, it just doesn't make sense. So, you know. And, yeah, what are you going to do? Yeah. Well, Kahana, we're done here. We've been here for 2 hours, so we're just doing a little wrap-up conversation. And nowadays, it's pretty inevitable that you're going to talk or make comments about things that affect so many people, whether it's through possibility of World War III or it's paying higher prices for, you know, eggs, shoes, and condoms or whatever, right? I mean, everybody's affected by it, so everybody has an opinion. And but I agree with you to an extent. Play guitar and enjoy life. And you only got 3 years and, 8, 9 months left to go? So, well, actually, maybe not. Could be another 4 after that, too, I guess. But all right, folks. See you soon. Thanks for joining me, as always. And remember, just play your guitar. All right? See you, guys.